So I'm going to open it up to questions now and see if I don't see anything in the chat. So if anybody has any questions, please just put them in the chat thread there.
I received a few questions actually from some registrants who didn't show up tonight, so that was interesting.
Okay.
I actually got them by email during your thing, but she's not here. But I think a lot of people were hoping to catch it later since we're recording it. So yeah. I was thinking maybe we could go ahead and ask some of her questions because they're very interesting. She, first of all, would like to know about testing requirements. I wonder if you could speak to that. I know we're in Illinois.
Yeah.
Maybe you are somewhere
in
else,
Illinois.
and I know that varies. But maybe you could speak to that just for a moment.
Sure. Well, in Illinois, there are no testing requirements. You are not required to do any standardized tests if you don't want to do that. If you want to do tests that's for your own peace of mind, you can. I think, does Ode offer that now? I know that Teach used to. Does Ode offer the testing? Is that kind of been folded in?
We have a couple of times.
Okay.
And we will, if people want it, we'll offer it again. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, the high school requirements, I mean, that's different. You're going by whatever the college is or the entrance to whatever program that your teen is looking at. You go by what their requirements are, but the state currently does not require any standardized tests. So there's no teaching to the test. There's none of that. There's the best reason to have your child tested, if you choose, is for your own peace of mind, and so that you can kind of see maybe where your child is at, and to just, you know, reassurance and or to see maybe where you need to pick up the next year if you see that there are some places where maybe your child scores lower. But usually homeschoolers, no matter what method they use, score higher than public school students. So that's very interesting because we don't teach to the test. I don't know any homeschooler that teaches to the test and they still score higher. So it's that personalized tutor type teaching that really, and it doesn't matter the economic level. It doesn't matter the method, whether you're really formal and traditional or whether you're very relaxed and more unschoolish. It doesn't matter. They've done these surveys multiple times, and the homeschoolers do better, a lot better. So usually, if you're working with your child so closely, you usually know where they're at too. You don't need to have a test tell you that your child really knows their math facts. I mean, you can verify that yourself through your interaction with them every day, or that they don't really know their history all that well. You can see that, so you don't need the test. But sometimes people do that just for their own peace of mind, for their own records. Maybe they don't know if they might move someday or something like that, and they may need to have those on hand. Or again, if you know that your child is going to go back into the school system, they will test your child to see where they're at so that they know where to place them. Right. So, yeah.
I love this next question. This is the most wonderful question because this is what we all wonder in our hearts sometimes. What happens if I do a terrible job teaching and the children regress?
Oh, well, I have never ever met a child that was homeschooled that went backwards, because homeschooling isn't just about the academics. It's about your relationship with your child, and what is the foundation of learning, even for public school learning? It's the parents' involvement. Um, I don't think any parent could do it off the job homeschooling. I really don't. You love your child, even, and you want them to succeed. And it 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 doesn't matter if you spend a few days just playing together. That relationship is is the foundation of their ability to learn. And even if even if you think you're not teaching them something, they will learn anyway, because God made us curious. He made us explorers. He made us discoverers. And your child can't help but learn something, unless, unless they have some special needs. And even with special needs, they will still learn, and learn by leaps and bounds more than they would if they were in the public school. I have some special needs kids myself, and I know in my deepest heart that keeping them with me is why they are the people they are today. I know that I have not always done the best job. I know that there were times I could have done better. There are things I could have taught better, but they, as they've gotten older, older children can learn faster and better than younger children, and they fill in those gaps themselves, and in amazing ways, and so worrying about whether they will go backwards, unlearn things that they already learned, I just don't think that I I don't think that in a loving homeschool home that would happen. I just don't believe it, because your love for that child, if all you did is read to them every day because you were sick in bed and couldn't get up, or maybe you read to them, you listened to audiobooks because you had to drive people or other family members around a lot, they will still learn something, and they learn more important lessons even than the academics, which is they learn about loving and caring for other people, which is far more important than academics that can be learned at any age. The only thing that is super necessary when they're young is the skills and character and habits, because the academics can be learned at any age. So don't worry about those gaps that you missed some war in history, or you missed some science topic. If they need it, they will learn it later, and learn in a week what would have taken you a month to teach them. I know, I've seen it. I've already seen it. It happened. So don't worry about that. Make sure you invest in the relationships with your children. And again, even if all you did is read books together, they will still learn and will not go backwards. Yes.
Thank you. That was a great answer. I love that. There's tons of questions coming in now, so I don't know, if you want to end it, we could maybe even write down some of these answers and post them somewhere. But if you're good to keep going, I'll ask you a few more questions. Is that
Okay, that's
okay?
fine. Yeah.
Okay, so Carmen actually asked, what is your favorite resource for homeschooling? And second part of that question, do most homeschoolers do year-round homeschooling?
Well, I'll answer the second one first because that's pretty easy. I would say that most homeschoolers like to take a break in the summer. Personally, I still did some kind of teaching in all year round because I felt like, well, you're not, we're doing field trips in the middle of the week, and there'd be days in the middle of the year where they would play all day. I mean, I'm just gonna say it happens. So I felt like, well, the summertime is prime time for learning about plants, for getting outside and looking at things that are in the water. It's a prime time for going to music festivals and art festivals and hearing world music and all of that. There's a lot of things going on in the summer that I felt were teaching moments, that were homeschool activities that I counted. But in terms of formal lessons, most homeschoolers do take a break. I mean, mom needs a break sometimes. Like, it's a lot of work. Unless you are following a more relaxed type method, maybe, summer is game and you're teaching year round anyway, or like maybe you like to do a vacation in the winter. I personally like to do that when nobody's around. That's the best time. go to the warmer climates in the winter. Couldn't really do that this winter, but anyway, so yeah, that's generally how it's done. And my personal favorite resource that I use a lot, the library. Really, the library. And nowadays, it's a little tricky with the library. So you can use the Kindle Unlimited, where you can get borrow an unlimited amount of books on Kindle, which can be really nice. I just personally, I hate reading on one of those devices. It just really is not the same thing as having the book in your hand, especially when it comes to picture books. But the library is a great resource. As kids get older, I like to look at the book lists on Ambleside Online and Veritas Press. I like to look at the book lists and for good ideas for great books for older kids, because I found that the books at the library, as kids got older, I didn't care for the worldview of some of the authors. And also as it came to more current history, I didn't care for some of the worldview and perspectives of some of the authors that way either. So I started looking to some other companies that were more in line with my particular worldview. And that I would look at the library first, depending on whether that's a good resource for you for older kids. You may want to take a look at what I mentioned, the Kindle Unlimited. I think it's one fee and you can borrow as many books as you want. I'm not certain, but you can check into that. Might end up costing you less than the overdue fees. Especially now with the way things are. But yeah, so those are some of my favorites.
Okay, so I have another question, which you are an excellent person to ask this question to, because I know you know a lot about this. This woman says, my middle daughter has an IEP because she has dyslexia, dyscalculia, I don't know what that is, I'm sure you know, and ADHD. Do you know if the school still provides support for IEP students who are homeschooled? I know that she would need more than what I can give her and that she'd benefit from additional support.
Um, okay, so I have 2 children with ADD, and one of them has severe dyslexia. The other one has a just sort of unspecified learning disorder, but I would call it, that one did have some trouble with math. So I totally understand where you're coming from. However, my kids, none of them ever went to school. And I will just say, those two that I'm speaking of, those are my 2 graduates. And they never went to school. I did have testing for one of them, my dyslexic son, and they wanted me to give him special program. But so whether or not the school will support you with the IEP, the answer is probably not. I did seek help, and they give help to the students in the school first. And then if there are leftover funds, then they will divide that up among private school students. Because by law, they do have to provide some help. However, they can only provide help if they have funds. So that's how they divide up the funding. So you probably won't get the help that you need, unless your school district has some leftover funds after helping kids who are in the private schools. However, don't discount yourself as the best person to know and help your child. As I mentioned, my son, my oldest son, he has severe dyslexia. He didn't learn to read fluently until he was in middle school. And there were lots of different programs tried, and they did not help him. He now reads just as well as most other people and is writing 2 long blog posts a week for his business apprenticeship program. So don't necessarily discount what you can do for your child, because the school is not going to place priority on people that are not attending their school. And right now, with the COVID stuff going on, it is crazy madness for their specialists to even try to help the students that are in the public school. So you can try, but that's generally how that works. I did not get any funding for him. And they wanted me to put him in a special school, and I said no. And he still learned to read, and he still is writing, and writing well too. I can talk with you further off this webinar, workshop, whatever, about that and how I helped him. But I will say part of it is the brain's maturing process. That is part of it. But anyway, have faith in yourself as a parent. You are your child's best teacher, and you are your child's best advocate, and you know best what is going to be truly helpful for your child. So don't think that they're the only ones that can help. So.
Okay, so the last one I have for you is it very difficult? I know your kids have never gone to school, so this is maybe a little bit outside of your experience, but is it very difficult to say you start in school and in 2 weeks you say this isn't going to work, I have to bring them home? Um, is that process very difficult? And also vice versa, if you're at home and say they have a vaccine developed and now it's safe to go back to school, is it very hard to put them back in? So what is it like, the process of removing and placing back into school? I think that if I understand correctly, that is what
Yeah.
the question was.
Well, I mean, it is going to be hard for me to answer because I don't have any firsthand experience, but I do know that the law does not require you to complete any sort of forms to take your child out. In spite of what the school district may say, you don't have to file any papers or anything. I mean, you can just say, I'm removing them from school and they're going to be homeschooled now. From a legal perspective. From an educational perspective of taking a child out and then putting them back in and taking them out and putting them back in, some children adapt well to that, and other children that can be very traumatic. Even they say that when you take a child out of public school, that there needs to be a deschooling process, and because being in school is so different from being home, and some of the routines and the I'm going to say indoctrination that occur in a school, and the school culture, the social culture there, and the general environment is very different from home and from sort of the rest of their life. That making that switch requires some time to deschool, as they call it. Some people say that you should allow 1 month for each year. Some people say 1 week for each year. I don't know which one is right. I would say whatever you feel comfortable with. But the deschooling period is meant to help the child to overcome the all of that sort of indoctrination and culture and all of that they've been exposed to, so that they can move into the next thing. It's a way of helping them to transition into my mom is my teacher or my dad is my teacher now. And it's going to look very different, and we're going to be a family learning together now, instead of this other environment. And now my siblings can be my friends instead of something else, like they are in a school. So, but to take them out and put them back in and take them out, that can be kind of traumatic. I mean, if you're going to take them out for the school, like say you're going to keep them home now, I would keep them home at least until the second semester starts, if not for the whole year. If you're going to, and same, like if you're going to put them back in or however, have it be a length of time, because it's just emotionally just kind of traumatic, the back and forth and the in and out, and not knowing what to expect. If you know for sure that next year, like you just want to homeschool for a year and next year they're going to be back in school, then I would recommend that you choose a homeschooling method that is going to help you make sure that they keep in step with whatever they're learning in the public school. So take a look at the scope and sequence charts or whatever. Make sure that that when they go back, their knowledge base and their skills base is going to be similar to the other kids. And that's not to say that that won't happen if you choose any homeschool method, but children do have different developmental rates, but in a school, everyone is required to keep at the same rate. So it doesn't necessarily respect that you know, your child may be really ahead in reading and, you know, going a little slower pace in math, but, you know, they just pull them out and do other things. But in a homeschool, you can keep, that doesn't matter as much because they'll make it up as they get older. But if you're going to send them back to school, that's what I would recommend. Try to help make sure that they, when they do go back, it's a seamless transition.
Yeah, that would probably really vary from school to school too, as far as what the systems
Yeah,
protocol that they would have in place for that.
yeah.
So I believe that wraps up the questions that I saw come in. So if someone has another question real quick right now, I guess this is your last chance for the evening.